I'll call the meeting to order. That the municipality, West Perth Committee of Adjustment convene at 6 o'clock to consider an application for a minor variance for property owned by Nathan Schultz, known as Plan 368, Lot 15, Mitchell Ward, Municipality of West Perth, 189 Trafalgar Street. Does anybody have, members of the committee have a pecuniary interest at tonight's meeting? Could I have a couple members of the Committee of Adjustment to accept the agenda as it was presented, please? Dean will move it, and Alex will second that. Anybody opposed to that? It's carried. Could I please have a couple people to move and second the Committee of Adjustment adopting the minutes from our last August 16th, 2023 meeting? Alex and Diane. All those, anybody opposed to that? That's carried as well too. So I'll call on the chair. Sorry, let me maybe make a first statement first. Any decision reached by the committee tonight cannot be used to set as a precedent. So I'll now call on the Secretary Treasurer of the committee to advise of the purpose of tonight's meeting.
Thank you, Chair. The purpose of this public meeting of the West Perth Committee of Adjustment is to allow the presentation of an application for a minor variance and to allow interested members of the public the opportunity to ask questions or offer comments regarding this application. Any member of the public that would like to be notified in writing of the Committee of Adjustment's decision on this application are to provide their name and mailing address to clerk@westperth.com. This will also entitle you to be advised of a possible Ontario Land Tribunal hearing in the event the decision of this application is appealed. Notice was sent by regular mail on September 15th, 2023 to property owners within 60 meters of the subject property and to those agencies requiring notice.
Thank you, Dan. So just to give everyone an idea of how the meeting will go, first we'll ask Perth County Planner John Bice to present the plan. Then the applicant or agent could take a few minutes, any comments from committee members, and then members of the public, and then we'll come to a decision from the committee. So I'll first hand it over to Perth County Planner John Bice to present the report on the application.
Thank you so much, Chair and committee members. I'll share my screen real quick. And just maybe a head nod to...
We can, yeah.
Perfect. Awesome, that's great. Okay, so this application is for minor variance. The file number is A06-2023. The property is located at 189 Trafalgar Street. The property is on the north side of the street, which is just south of Ketterson Park, which you can see in the ball diamond to the north there. So the proposal, the applicants are requesting a variance for the purpose of constructing a garage immediately in front of an old attached garage that has since been turned into living space. The subject lands are zoned residential 2, R2, in the West Perth zoning bylaw, and this requires a 6-meter front yard setback for construction. The applicants are applying to construct a new attached garage in the space that would have a 3.5-meter front yard setback from the front lot line. This would produce a 2.5-meter or 2.5-meter variant. As well, the applicants are also applying to reduce the parking requirements for the R2 single detached home from 2 spaces down to 1 space, as the remaining driveway left over isn't large enough to meet the requirements of a parking space in the zoning bylaw. So Section 45 of the Planning Act outlines 4 tests specifically that considers minor variances. The first is, does it conform with the official plan? So this variance, it allows for the efficient use of infrastructure and public services and allows the applicant to maintain and improve upon the existing housing stock, which is in their single detached house here. So the variance is in keeping with the Mitchell Ward official plan. The next test of a minor variance is, does it conform with the zoning bylaw? The intent of the minimum front yard depth requirements in residential zones, as we see here, essentially serves the purpose of a few things. The first is it maintains consistent sizing of the facade and built form of the dwellings on Trafalgar Street. It also serves the purpose for ensuring adequate parking is available for residential vehicles without obstructing public spaces, pedestrian movement, or cause overcrowding on the street. Minimum front yard depth requirements also ensure that there's adequate space available for services and utilities and their maintenance, as well as ensuring adequate space for sightlines and normal use and maintenance of the traveled portion of the roads. West Perth Public Works have advised that they have identified no concerns with the proposal as submitted. There will be approximately a 3.5 meter long driveway space available for parking for a portion of the driveway located on the owner's property. This space does not meet that minimum size requirement in the West Perth zoning bylaw for a parking space, and hence the need to reduce the requirement or reduce the minimum parking requirements from 2 required down to 1. And I'll show an image of that in a second here. So there will also be approximately 5.2 meters of driveway space that will remain. However, that space is not located on the private property. Instead, it's located on the right-of-way owned publicly by the municipality. So in order to park in this space, it is recommended that as a condition of the variance, receipt of an encroachment agreement be obtained by the owner in conjunction with the municipality of West Perth in order to theoretically park in their parking space, which would be owned by the West Perth would own that. So as I had suggested, this image shows essentially what's remaining left over in the parking lot that would be owned by the applicant and which would remain owned by West Perth. And 3.5 meters, as you see in red there, will be left over, owned, and would be on the subject property owned by the applicant. And then in the yellow or orange there, that's the right of way. So that's essentially the need for that encroachment agreement, essentially stating the understanding that if there were vehicles parking in the driveway, they would theoretically do so on public property. So another test of the minor variance application is it minor? Planning staff consider the changes to be minor in nature, as no significant adverse effects are anticipated on either the subject lands or on neighboring lands. There's no negative or adverse impacts anticipated from the reduction by 1 parking space as well. The fourth test is it appropriate development for the site? Trafalgar Street does have a large number of low density dwellings that appear to encroach in this front yard setback, similarly as proposed by the applicant. This is due to the older nature of the homes in the area, and this proposal to encroach 2.5 meters into the front yard would result in a new garage about approximately the same, if not set back further, than existing neighboring dwellings that are situated on Trafalgar Street. And this image essentially shows the dwelling located directly adjacent to the west, as well as multiple other dwellings located down along Trafalgar Street to the west, all encroaching into the front yard setback. Essentially, the application A06-2023 is considered appropriate for the use of the lands and meets that fourth test as well. Since the application meets the 4 tests of the minor variance, planning staff recommend the approval of the minor variance A06-2023 Dan was gracious enough to show the public notice requirements, so I can get into that if necessary as well. But I can take any questions right now as well.
Thank you very much, John. First, maybe we'll hear from the applicant. Nathan, if you have any other comments or anything you'd like to add, we'd love to hear from you, but if you don't, that's okay too. But I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Nicholas. I don't really have anything else to add. I think John did an excellent job there of summing up hopefully what I put forward in the application itself there too. So yeah, I would just say that it's just a matter of increasing the living space was the original goal, turning that older garage into living space. And then just with these smaller square footage of these houses and not an entirely usable full basement. It's only a half basement. So getting some more living space out of the smaller home and then putting a garage back on for a good, safe winter storage, vehicle storage, whatever might be for us. But we're a family with 4 kids, so there's mostly bikes and strollers, but in the future for people to store a car, seniors, whatever it might be to get it out of the rain and ice and elements. And that was basically our logic. So yeah, if there's any questions you have for me, you can let me know too.
Thank you, Nathan. All right, we'll now ask the committee members. Do any of the committee members have any questions or comments on the application? Dean? Yeah.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So I guess a question for both the applicant and for John. I noticed on the pictures there, I saw flags, like it looks like a yellow flag for natural gas locate and a blue flag for water utility locate. So leads me to believe that all the necessary, before the municipality works department gave the all clear, they'd done the necessary checks for buried utilities before giving their acceptance. Is that correct?
John, would you be able to answer that maybe?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Through you, Chair, and thanks for the question, Dean. Great question. It's a typical exercise that's gone through for building permits. This garage will need a building permit. They'll need to go through that process as well. That'll further identify any sort of utilities and servicing. But yes, we've received comments from the Public Works Department that have said they have no objections to the application, as well as some of those. I saw some stakes there as well, probably from the survey that was completed as well. So everything is kind of being wrapped up at this point.
Right, thank you.
Does anybody else have any other questions or comments from the committee? All right, I'll ask if there are any members of the public that would like to ask any questions or provide any comments. That'll bring the discussions to a close. Thank you everyone for your attendance. We'll now move to the decision portion of the meeting. So I'll just give the committee an idea of the recommendation and the motion that we're going to consider. That the Municipality of West Perth Committee Adjustment approve the minor variance application A06-2023 affecting lands described as Part 368, Lot 15, Mitchell Ward, Municipality of West Perth. That the following conditions are recommended to apply. That the minor variance only applies to the proposed garage consistent with the application sketch, that the owners obtain the necessary building permits within 2 years of approval of the minor variance, that the owners obtain an encroachment agreement with the Municipality of West Perth to park in the portion of the driveway that is not privately owned. That's the recommendation that we're considering. Does anybody have any comments or questions? If not, then I would take a mover and a seconder for that recommendation. Alex will move it. Phil will second it. Anybody else? Any more questions? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. So the minor variance is hereby granted for the following reasons. The relief requested is minor in nature. It is required for appropriate development of the property. It maintains the general intent and purpose of the official plan, and it maintains the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. If there's nothing else, then I'll call that the adjournment. The Municipality of West Perth Committee of Adjustment hereby closes the public meeting at 6:16. Phil will move that. Diane will second that. Anybody opposed to adjournment? That's adjourned. Thank you very much for your attendance.